Today we've got a quick tutorial on Brixing your Wunderbar gun. Brixing is a term used to describe setting the strengths of the individual syrups versus how much soda water is coming out of your gun. To do this you'll need a Brixing cup and a syrup separator. These can be bought from Hoshizaki Lancer, Bracton, Cornelius, IMI Cornelius. My personal favourite is to get them from the Soda Dispensing Depot in the US or from eBay. You'll find them a lot cheaper. To buy locally you're looking about $120 for one of these, anywhere from $50 to $100 for one of these. On eBay you should get both for about $35, so look, $50 for both including postage to Australia. To get started, first thing you need to do is remove the nozzle. Now some of these nozzles are twist on, some of them are push on. This is a push on one, so sometimes it's a little bit hard to get off. I recommend a flathead screwdriver, lever it off. Then add the syrup separator, make sure the foam insert is in there. Make sure it's on tight all the way. Then using a bucket, press down the soda water button. Make sure soda only comes out of the small nozzle at the top. The bottom nozzle is meant for your syrup, so we'll press the lemonade button down and you can see clear liquid coming through. So at the moment you've got lemonade or syrup and soda water coming through there. Now, the Brixing cup. Brixing cups come in many different varieties. This one has a whole heap of holes. What you really need is one that has a 5:1 ratio. What you're after is 5 parts soda water and 1 part syrup. That is where most syrups are factory set. You'll occasionally find something that's 5.5 to 1 or 4 to 1 in the case of some orange juices, and that's where the other holes come in. Also, some people like the syrup stronger or weaker, just for personal preferences. That can be tweaked later on after you get it to factory setting. So, to get to factory setting, what you do is you find the 5:1 ratio hole, which in this case is this one. You put the large one in there and the small one in the large container, and you press down the button you're looking to Brix. So in this case, lemonade. Alright, and in this case you'll see that the soda water's here and the lemonade's up here. The way this cup works is for it to be set correctly, those need to be on equal par. Now, to do that, what we do is we come across to the manifold. Now, each button correlates with a particular flavour. Now, I'd refer to the manual about where buttons are. If you just Google Wunderbar, you'll actually find a picture of one of these guns. Pretty much on the page it'll look like that. On that page you'll see a standard gun. On the standard gun it'll say CL, etc, all down. And on that picture it will correspond, those letters will correspond to what's written here on the bar. Now the problem with doing it on second-hand guns is people put different flavours on, they move buttons around, so you can't trust where things are going. Also, just as a quick step, soda water and water you'll always find in the middle. Those buttons will never change. This side of the bar, this side down, you'll find over here. Coke should be about the middle. Q, which is the next one down, will be over here next to the water button, and diet will be on the outside. Conversely, on this side, you'll find it down here. So L's in the right spot over here, with T at the front and G at the end. So this gun is actually set up the way you'll find it. Now, some guns you'll find raspberry, zero, orange juice, etc. What's actually written on the button really doesn't make a difference. It's the button location versus what's written here. So even if this says X there, it'll still correspond with the C down here. So once again, I'd suggest referring to the manual, or even use this picture as a basic guide, because these buttons correspond with this gun. Now on this gun, well, most guns have options for up to 8 buttons, so you'll find an O and an M, but there aren't any piping and there aren't any controls for these. So just ignore the O and the M and you'll be fine. Now, to actually set the syrup strengths, what you have is at the back here, you have shut-off valves. So if they're facing this way, the way they're facing now, which valve face should be facing on your gun, they're on. To turn off the shut-off valve, it's simply to turn that way. It doesn't matter left or right. It's a simple ball valve, and that turns it on and off. But to set the actual syrup strength, it's the one in front. Now sometimes you'll have flow control valves, sometimes you'll just see another row of screws like that. Doesn't matter what kind you've got, they work exactly the same. I'm going to pause the video here. Now, to set the syrup strength, you find the button you want to do, say L for lemonade. You find the corresponding dial on your manifold. And using a bucket, what you do is to increase the amount of syrup going in, you wind it in, which is clockwise. To reduce the amount of syrup, anti-clockwise. Now, as you can see from the Brix cup, we need to reduce the amount of syrup. So the best way to do it, which I find, is I actually hold the button down while turning the dial. You can actually see the amount reducing. Once it's reduced significantly, we retest. Put in a significant amount. Now, as you can see, syrup's here, soda water's here. It's much, much closer than it was before, but it's not exactly factory set. So we'll reduce it a little bit more. You need to put a significant amount of product in just to make sure it's pouring consistently and to test properly. Bring it up to the first line, and as you can see, they're almost spot on. So that flavour is now set correctly. However, personal taste, as I mentioned before, I personally like the lemonade to be set a little bit higher. So what I want to do for me, and for the product I usually install, well, once again, that's a bit high. Now, much better. Now, it's only fractionally more, probably the width of the screwdriver. But personally, I find it's a better tangier flavour if you do that. But once again, that's personal choice. Some people like it weaker, some people like it stronger. I suggest factory setting everything to where it's supposed to be, then use your own judgment. Taste the product, see what you like. That's basically how you do it. You do that for every single flavour, and you're good. Now, occasionally you end up with a dodgy gun, and these controls don't work. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much you put in, how much you change it, it doesn't reduce the amount of syrup coming out. At that time, what you can do is play around with the ball valve at the end. If you need to reduce it, if you slightly turn it, then you'll find you do have some play doing that. But it's not recommended, and it's a last option alternative. I hope this helps. Any questions, please contact us.